All right, so I tried hiring people for the longest time. I have gone through freelancer after freelancer. I've hired so many people, and it's just never worked out for my business. And I thought, screw it. Okay, fine. I'll do all the work myself in my business. I'll keep all the money. But then I ended up working 20-hour days. I was tired all the time. I was grumpy all the time. And eventually, I figured out what I got wrong about hiring. And there was one piece of guru advice that really messed me up, to tell you the truth. And that's what I want to talk about in this video. All right, so when we talk about hiring people in the business, I didn't just start off hiring people. I had to start from the bottom. I was a used car salesman. I absolutely hated my job. I was about to turn 30 and I had a big decision to make. I knew that if I didn't quit my job and if I didn't start my business, I would be stuck forever selling used cars. And that's just not the life that I wanted for myself. And so I didn't want to be that 40-year-old or 50-year-old that's still walking around the car lot, still trying to sell cars. That was just not going to be me. So I decided to quit my job. I had about $250 in my bank account. I spent $100 of that money buying a new tablet because I wanted to be a web designer. And that was sort of how I started my business. So I started with no plan whatsoever. And when I started out, I tried to do all the work myself. I would build the websites myself. I would go and try and get the new clients by myself. I would literally be the sales department, the admin department. I would literally be every single department in the business. I'd be a one-man business, and it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. I used to wake up at about 4 a.m. and I used to work through to midnight. Okay. And when I say work, I mean actual work. I'm not talking about, I'm on social media scrolling, or I'm watching a podcast, or I'm business planning and brainstorming. No, I'm talking about this is me working in my business, either doing client work or either doing work trying to better the business. And that's my life. That was my life the first 3 years. So I'd wake up, I'd work, and then I'd go sleep. No time for my girlfriend, no real time to walk around and enjoy life, just glued to my laptop screen, constantly working. And obviously, this is very unsustainable. So what eventually happened was I ended up going to hospital. And when I landed up in hospital, I had all of these chest pains. And the doctors told me that I'm exhibiting signs of pre-stroke symptoms, I think they call it, basically burning out. And I was very, very close to the edge. And eventually I got out of hospital. Now you would think that just going to hospital and having that experience that I'd learn, that I'd do better. But no, I didn't. I went back to work in those same 20-hour days because there was no one else to do the work. So I had to do the work, and I landed up in hospital again. Second time. And then I still didn't learn my lesson. And then I went to hospital a third time. And it was round about the third time where my brain started working and said, hey, if you don't hire people, this is going to be your life. This is going to be your life forever. Do you want that? And obviously I didn't. So I knew I had to hire at least someone to take some of the work out of my hands. Eventually, I gathered up the courage and I said to myself, okay, if I'm going to hire someone, maybe I should hire maybe my first hire should be one of my friends, because that way, if it doesn't work out, they're still my friend. It doesn't feel as official, because you can ask any business owner, it is so scary when you hire someone for the first time. So I decided, at the time we were building a lot of websites, just to give you insight into the business. I'm a digital marketer. I do Google ads, and we end up finding out that a lot of people's websites don't convert. And so we usually have to rebuild their websites or build them a new landing page. And so I had this friend who was very good at building websites, right? And I thought to myself, I'll get him to work for me. So I approached him. I gave him a very generous salary. I think I gave him $20 per hour. And just to paint a picture for you, in South Africa, the average person earns about $350 per month. If you're middle class, you're at about $700 per month. And if you're just upper middle class, you're at about $1,500 per month. So $20 per hour, it's a lot of money to be paying someone. But I wanted him to be comfortable. And so I hired him. And that's where the issue started. Now, there's a general saying in business, and I didn't know this because I didn't have a business mentor. I didn't have anyone to teach me what to do in business. I'm like the first person in my family to ever start a business. So I'm literally learning all of this stuff while I'm doing it. And so what happened was, because I hired my friend didn't think that I was his boss. He thought I was his friend. And so what happened was he would not show up to work on time. I'd pay him for work and then the projects wouldn't get done. I even remember one day where he was supposed to be in the office at about 9 a.m. and it was going for about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And so I called this dude and I'm like, Guy, where are you? We're supposed to do all of this work. We're supposed to get all of these projects done. And he tells me, oh no, my dad asked me to wash his car. And so I asked him, is your dad paying you to wash his car? He's like, no, but I need to wash my dad's car. And that's when I realized, my gosh, this is just not going to work. This is absolutely not going to work. So that's when I started to realize, okay, I made a massive mistake by hiring my friend. And now, worst of all, I had to fire my friend. So if ever any of you are thinking about hiring people in your business, friends and family, just be aware that one day that day is going to come along and you might have to fire that person. And it's going to make everything awkward. It's going to be awkward when you see each other again. It's going to be awkward at family gatherings. It's going to be awkward at parties. So my first mistake was, I think, my worst mistake. And that was just hiring a friend. And so I said, okay, fine. I let him go. And I decided I'm going to only hire professionals. I'm only going to hire freelancers, people I don't know, because then they'll respect me as the boss. Then it will be easier to draw boundaries. And it took me a while to get back to hiring people because obviously after this bad experience with my friend, I thought to myself, okay, I'm just going to go back to doing everything by myself. And the business started generating revenue again. But now I was stuck again, working my 20-hour days, being unhealthy, not focusing on my friends and family, just putting everything into my business. And I just don't want to be that person. You know, that whole hustle, bro, just work like hell until you get to your first million or until you get to your first billion. I know where that road goes and I didn't want to go there. And so I said to myself, okay, once I'd gathered up the courage again to start hiring people, I said, all right, I'm going to do things differently this time. And the one piece of guru advice that got me into so much trouble was hire people for roles and jobs and things in the business that you don't want to do. And so that's what I was doing. I was hiring people now based on everything I did not want to do in my business. Hated video editing. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get myself a video editor. I absolutely hated doing community work because I had an online course at the time. It was generating quite a bit of money. We had quite a few people in the community. They were asking questions every now and then. So I thought, hey, all of the other big influencers, they've got, you know, community managers and stuff. It would be a good idea to hire a community manager. So I did that. I mean, these are all the roles that I don't want to do in my business. I just want to spend all the time being the CEO, being the visionary, and doing the stuff that I was good at doing, you know, my zone of genius, as they call it. And so What I'm doing is I'm hiring a video editor, I'm hiring a community manager. I even hired a marketing manager to help me build a new funnel because I wanted more people to come into the course and more people to come into the community. So I was like, okay, fine, I'm going to hire a marketing manager to help me build out this new funnel. Okay, so video editor cost me about $25 per hour. Community manager cost me about $20 per hour. And the marketing manager cost me a lot more than that. And while I'm hiring all of these people, I'm sure some of you are thinking, hey, but why are you spending so much, on people? Maybe that's your mistake. Maybe you should just hire somebody and pay him $5 an hour, $6 an hour. Unfortunately, I have a conscience. I'm not going to go out there and hire people and underpay them just because I am a small business owner. I want to hire people and I want to give them good salaries that are actually good enough to live on. I don't know how some business owners do it, and I'm sure there's a lot of business owners that do this where you pay people the bare minimum, you pay them absolute crumbs, and then you take all the money for yourself, and then you say that this is just how business works. I've never been comfortable with doing that. If I hire someone, I want them to be okay. I want them to feed their families. I want them not to have to go get a second job. And I actually want them to enjoy the work that they're doing. Unfortunately, I've got a conscience. I can't just go, oh, that's bad for you. I'm just gonna pay you $5 and you're just gonna see how you can make that work. I'm just not that person. So I knew I had to pay them well because I wanted them focused on their jobs and not just focused on survival. Anyway, I go and hire these people, and all of a sudden, it's happening again. My business starts losing money again. I'm forking out all of this money to pay the marketing manager, forking out all of this money to pay the YouTube video editor. I'm forking out all this money to pay the community manager. And there's just money flowing out of the business. And it got to a stage where I barely had enough money to feed myself, barely had enough money to keep the business growing. And because I'm so glued to my numbers and my analytics, I caught it early, but I could see our profitability was slipping. And I could see that it's just not working again. And so here I am stuck with the same problem. First, I hired the friend. That didn't work out. Now I'm hiring professionals. This isn't working out either. So what I had to do now is go to my community manager, who was fantastic, and I had to let her go. I had to go to the video editor, who was amazing, and I had to let her go. And then I had to go to the marketing manager and also let the marketing manager go. And now I'm back to square one again, where I tried hiring all these people in my business and it just didn't work. All right, so fast forward to about a year, and now I've built my courage up again after hiring these freelancers. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm back to being exhausted. I don't have mornings anymore, don't have time to drink a cup of coffee, don't have time to spend with my girlfriend. Now I'm back up to working those 18-hour days. And I'm starting to feel like, okay, I need to get people on board. And this is where I discovered the mistake that I was making all along. You see, whenever I watch these big business influencers and these CEOs, and whenever I was watching these podcasts, they were always talking about hire people for the jobs you don't want to do and just stay in your zone of genius. For me, what I found out was the opposite was actually true. So this time what I did is I hired people for the actual work that I was doing in the business. And this might sound like super obvious to you, but it was not obvious to me at the time. And so I hired 2 Google Ads experts. So I'm a Google Ads expert. I do consulting, we do conversion tracking, we do a lot of work on Google Ads accounts, we do website building. And so what I realized is every area of revenue that I had, I'm going to hire somebody to do exactly what I'm doing every single day. So for Google Ads, I hired 2 Google Ads experts. to look after all of the accounts, to make sure that the clients' ads were sorted out, also to do all of the conversion tracking jobs, all of those little jobs, those nitty gritty jobs that I do, but I don't realize that I'm doing. I hired 2 people to take care of those. Let me tell you this, instantaneously, straight away, I had 20 hours back in my week. So instead of me working all of these crazy hours, all of a sudden I could wake up in the morning and I could actually have a cup of coffee and not have to run to my MacBook. I could read a book and I could slowly ease into my day at 9 or 10 a.m. and I could wind things up. And I started to realize, wow, this is feeling good. And on top of that, my business revenue started increasing. It started climbing up. Now, my business revenue has always been going up, but what I've noticed is it was very connected to me, my emotions, my moods, and whether I was in hospital or not. But this time, the business revenue just started climbing because the freelancers I hired were actually doing the stuff that I was doing. Previously, what happened was I would hire a video editor and I would think, wow, I've got a video editor. This is so cool. Now it's going to free up so much time. But what I didn't realize is I only spend about 3 hours of my week video editing. It's a role that isn't that important. Not yet, anyway. Same thing with a community manager. I hired the community manager and I thought, wow, I'm going to have a community manager. She's going to do so much work. But what I actually realized is I barely spend any time in my community. My course answers most of my students' questions, maybe an hour a week I'm spending in my community. So what happened was I hired the community manager. She only had an hour's worth of work and then she started inventing work to justify being there. So now I was paying her for all of this extra work and my students didn't care. They were happy. They didn't need a community manager. I thought they did, but they really didn't. The same thing with the marketing manager. What I realized with the marketing manager was I was trying to build this whole new funnel so I could get more students for my course. But you know what the one thing is that gets me people? The YouTube videos. And so I was neglecting my YouTube channel, getting a marketing manager to build me a whole new funnel, which didn't work, when I should have just been focusing on what was working already, which is this YouTube channel. And so I got one of the Google Ads freelancers to actually just started recording videos alongside my videos. And that way we put out twice as many videos per month, which means the business grows twice as fast, right? So all I'm doing is just replacing all these little roles that I'm playing in the business. I also got an admin manager. Now, I don't spend that much time on admin, but I do spend a lot of time chasing up on payments, forgetting to invoice people, forgetting about people that owe us money. And so I needed an admin manager to do that. And the admin manager came in. That was also another game changer. It was like there was a whole part of my brain that was freed up. She did admin and she was also good with a little bit of website work. So it helps because now not only is somebody taking care of admin, she's also doing a little bit of website work. And what I'm noticing is if I had a plate in front of me, it's now getting empty. I can actually focus on the business of just being a founder and just growing the business. So those were my 3 hires, 2 Google Ads experts and an admin manager. And my last hire was a thumbnail manager. And I hired these people really quickly, boom, 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 one after another. I hired a thumbnail manager because I think that is a role that I don't really have to do. And it doesn't really cost that much. And it's somebody that I know works at a very high level. And those were my 4 hires. And let me tell you this, I am so glad that I didn't give up. I am so glad that I kept on trying to hire people because now I have a team of people that are working for me and I don't really have to stress about is the work getting done or not. My clients are happier because they get more timely communication from the business. I'm happier because I don't have to be everywhere all at once. And my staff are happy because they're getting paid well and they're doing great work. So yeah, that just finding the right hiring mix That was a game changer for me. All right, so now that I've got the right team in place, I'm working on a couple of stuff. So this is presently where I'm at right now. Systems. So telling the staff exactly what to do and what they should be doing at a particular point in time. Processes so that I don't have to retrain somebody, so that they already know like what is the steps to approach a certain problem or a certain situation. So I'm pretty happy with the team on the delivery side of things. I now need to replace myself on the sales and marketing side of things. So that's my next thing that I need to step back from. But I'm so happy because for once in my life, I actually figured something out. I really felt like I was a cursed business owner. I really felt like everything was right with everybody else, and I felt like there was something wrong with me. I felt like maybe I'm dumb or maybe I'm stupid because I just can't get the hang of hiring people. But I am so happy that I just persevered, because now things are completely different and I have a wonderful team and we all get along and it's all just going nice and smoothly. Everybody knows their roles. Everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. So I absolutely love that. And I just wanted to share this video because I know that this video would have helped me so much 8 years ago when I started my business out. And I just never found this information online. So if you're brand new, I'm going to tell you, write down every single thing that you do every day and hire for those roles first. Don't think it's about the work you don't want to do or the work that feels beneath you. Do that work. It's part of running a business. You can't get away from that work. But I'll say this. When you are in the right position, might just take a few years, you'll be able to step back from those roles. You don't have to do them forever. But make sure that you hire the roles that generate revenue first, and then do the luxury roles afterwards. So if you enjoyed this video, my name is Devon and I do Google Ads. If you want us to have a look at your Google Ads, we offer a free Google Ads audit. I will link it down below. Also, me and my team, feels so good to say that, but we have this thing where we help business owners transition from having a marketing agency to actually running their own ads. So maybe you've been hiring a whole bunch of marketing agencies and it's just not worked out and you feel like you're always losing money when you hire those agencies. We will help you bring your ads in-house. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, just book a call with me below as well. And I really love this service because I think a lot of business owners feel stuck and they feel like they don't have control and they feel like they're always losing money when they're outsourcing and when they're hiring people. There is a way, and we'll show you that way. It's actually a very fulfilling, rewarding experience when you know how to run your own marketing. So like I said, contact me down below. Other than that, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for letting me get this off my chest. I feel like I've had this video sitting inside me for years, and I can finally say it. So thank you so much for that. And if you want a next video to watch, you can check out this video over here. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.